Welcome to Conspiracy. I'm Sam,
And I'm Taylor.
and we're here to unpack and analyze the world's best conspiracy theories. So buckle up and let's jump in. Are you ready for this? Welcome back to the podcast, people.
She is really excited for this episode.
I know, I thought it was a good new way to introduce the podcast aside from the cut music playing.
People are going to go deaf from listening.
I thought it was pretty good. All right, today we are going to be discussing something that has intrigued me for a while now. You will find these structures on another continent. Any thoughts? Structures. Another continent.
Pyramids?
In a really sandy, dry area.
Yeah, pyramids in the desert.
You got it! So you guessed it. It's the Pyramids of Giza. We will be focusing on who really built these amazing structures.
The Egyptians?
Oh, you have so much to learn. There's a lot of different sides to this one.
Okay.
All
I've
right.
not heard a lot on this conspiracy.
Really? Yeah.
I've heard like aliens built them, but like how realistic is that?
Yeah.
But I've not heard a lot on this conspiracy, so.
Well, it'll be nice and new for you then.
It is.
It was something that kind of intrigued me. And it was like, because we've done quite a bit of podcasts now. So as we start going through these, it's like, okay, there's only so many options.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of the really popular ones that kind of come out first.
Yep.
And this was kind of starting to fall off of the really popular list.
Okay.
But I was intrigued, and it's not as much research as we've had in the past, so it might be a little bit of a shorter episode, but there's definitely enough here to have a podcast about it.
All right.
All right, so we'll jump into the background, get a little bit of that, and then we'll go into the theories. All right, the Pyramids of Giza are a really crazy feat to accomplish, especially back in 2490 BC.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You don't think about how long
How
ago that
long
was
ago that
until someone
was.
says it.
And mind you, how long would you expect a bunch of people
Mm-hmm.
with limited tools to be able to build these structures?
I think it would take years. I mean, I see how long it takes people to just do construction on a road here in Wisconsin.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
And it takes 5 months and they're still not
Oh my
done.
God, it takes years to do like a one street section.
I feel like every time we drive by construction, it's like 50 guys sitting on lunch break for 4 hours.
Oh, that's all I ever see.
I think way back then, maybe the motivation was a little bit more like you
Okay.
work because you have no option.
All
But
right.
I still think with as big and as immense as they are, it would take years. I don't think that would be something that you just put up in a month.
How many years?
I guess I don't.
I know, it's a tough question
It's
to
so
think
hard to think about because how big do you have like the height of
of. Oh yeah,
one?
we'll get into that.
Can you give me the average height? Or is that, you can't give that
We'll
away
just
yet?
jump in. Okay, so it
I
took
would
them,
say 2 to 3 years.
oh my God, it took them 15 to 30 years to
Holy
build the
shit.
pyramids. Mind you, do you know how many pyramids there are?
Aren't there 3?
Okay, there's 3 of like the big ones
Yeah.
that everybody knows.
But then there's like little baby ones.
Yeah, there's 3 little baby ones. So
Yeah.
there's 6 total.
Okay.
All right. Now the pyramids, they consist of 3 large ones and 3 smaller ones.
Oh my God, 30 years. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm still
I
stuck
know.
on that.
It's a long time.
Here I'm going 2 to 3, you know.
All right, so we'll get into the sizes.
'Kay.
So to be specific, the largest pyramid, they're all named, by the way. I didn't know they were all named. I thought they were just the pyramids in Egypt.
I did know they were I don't remember their names, but in 3rd grade I had an obsession with Egyptians.
Okay.
So I did know they had names.
So the first one is called the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's
Mhm.
the biggest one. And it's approximately 451.4 feet tall. So it's
Holy
about like
crap.
feet tall. So 100 feet, no, 100 yards.
1 sec. We'll do conversions. We'll do
Okay.
some math.
What's
'Cause-
451 feet in like a comparison? So like how many football fields is 451 feet?
Okay. Calculator. How many feet? 451?
451.4.
Okay, we'll divide that by 3 because that gives you 1 yard.
Yes.
150 yards.
So it's a football field and a half tall.
Still really tall.
Really tall.
Really, really tall.
The second is the Pyramid of Khafre, which is 448 feet tall. So a little bit shorter by like 3 feet.
Like a hair.
Super small.
Yeah.
And then the height of the Pyramid of Menkaure, which is the smallest of them, was 203. So about, we kind of jump almost to like half the size.
Okay.
So those were the 3 larger pyramids. The smaller pyramids are all about the same size, and they are approximately 100 feet tall.
Okay, so not...
Because they're all in front of that Pyramid of Mercury, which is 203 feet. So it's
Yeah.
about half the size of the smallest of the big pyramids.
All right.
So, I mean, lots of structures to build. So
Yeah.
30 years, I think, is, like, pretty darn good.
To build 6 pyramids, I would say that's really, really good. Here I'm going 3 years.
2 years. They did it. 2 years.
I don't know. There's hundreds. I mean, when they show pictures, granted, there were no cameras back then, but when they depict it, they made it look like
the
there were
drawings.
thousands of people working, and they probably were.
And it was a lot of slave labor.
But, like, I don't know. I just guess I had...
Greater
They
aspirations
were working
for
through the
them.
night over there. They were going to get those done.
With what sunlight? They didn't have lights.
That's very fair.
Well, they'd have, like, a million candles lighting their way.
But, like, jumping into the whole conspiracy part of it, the part that just weirds me out is, like, they didn't have cranes. They didn't...
I know. We'll get into that.
The stuff that we have, they didn't have.
I know, just the basic stuff for construction.
Oh my, I have never seen someone, like, build a building without a crane. It just doesn't happen. It's magic.
It felt like it.
Yes.
Now, up until this time, there really were no buildings that were of that magnitude.
Yeah.
So it was pretty rare. So that when the Egyptians decided to build these 3 large tombs for their leaders, it was kind of unheard of.
Okay.
Up until this point, it was kind of like, okay, your leader died, we'll bury you and have, like, a ceremony. There wasn't anything where, like, oh, we'll make this ginormous tomb to have your story live on.
Not that you would have gone into depth with it, but was there any reasoning as to why they were like, oh, our leader, let's build this?
I don't necessarily know. I didn't
Okay.
really go into that aspect of it.
Because, like...
Of, like, all of a sudden, like, what about all the leaders prior to this?
Yeah, did they just, like, throw them in the Nile and be like, see ya? Like...
Maybe they hadn't thought of it, and they're like, you know what? Now we have 1 million people. Mind you, 1 million people probably didn't exist back then because our population's hardcore growing. But the amount of slaves they would have needed in order to
Yeah.
build this
Would have been insane.
Well, it's kind of like when they built the Wall of China. When
Mhm.
people died, they just threw them in the wall.
In the wall?
Yeah, there's people, the slaves that were working on it. If you died, you were buried in the Wall of China.
Shut up.
You didn't know this?
Why would I know that?
I don't know. It was something I learned, and it was a tidbit that I was like, I'm gonna remember this the rest of my life.
Can't you go inside it? I thought you could go inside the wall.
Maybe sections of it, but like we're talking where it's like all rocks.
Yeah.
There are people like inside that where they just yeeted the body in there, and we're like, all right, put some bricks around them. Yeah.
Okay, 2 different approaches. One that's really fucking creepy, and the other approach is, holy shit, I got buried in the Great Wall of China. So, like, it could go either way, but I did not know that.
That slave labor was worth it.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing to keep in mind, when the pyramids were built, the
Mhm.
creation of tools was rather scarce.
Okay.
There was no such thing as a wheel or a pulley at this point in time.
Is that early?
They did this without wheels.
How the hell did you move the brick from one spot to another?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
That's where it starts getting me thinking of like,
That's a
yeah,
little
I really
weird.
don't know.
Yeah.
They did have levers to assist them in movement, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and then you're gonna, like, yank this lever and the brick's gonna slide down and squish you.
You would think.
Okay.
I mean, who's standing on the other side of the lever to get that thing to move?
I'm assuming these things weigh thousands and thousands of tons.
We'll get into that too.
You're gonna need, like, 1 billion people, and then they're gonna all get squished.
Yeah. So in addition to the levers, the only other thing they really had to assist them in construction was just sheer human strength. That was it.
They must have been ripped. The 6-packs on these men.
If we think about this, each block was between 2.5 and 6.5 tons. Now, a ton is 2,000 pounds.
Okay.
So we're talking about 14,000 pounds for each block.
My God.
An average man who regularly lifts, so kind of buff. And mind you, these people were slaves, so they probably were kind of deprived of food.
Yeah.
But they were probably working their asses off, so they
yeah.
probably were kind of buff.
Yeah. Kind of. If they're lifting this, they are going to be the strong men.
They're malnourished, Taylor. They're struggling.
Hopefully they're feeding them a little bit, like, you're working on our pyramid, here's a meal.
Yeah, you get like a grain of rice probably.
That's so sad.
Okay, so the average man that lifts can usually push about 185 pounds.
Can push.
Push.
Okay. Not like lift, but
Correct.
physically push.
Because
Okay.
you can push more than you can lift usually.
Okay, my toxic trait is thinking I could push more than 100
I know.
pounds.
I read that. I'm like, 185 pounds? Like, that's nothing.
Maybe that's way back then.
Mind you, that's more than I weigh. So it's probably not very realistic.
100 pounds?
185 pounds.
Okay, I weigh more than 185 pounds and you can push me with no issue.
Okay, then maybe I could push it.
My
Pushing and lifting are different things, though.
It is completely like
Because I don't think I could lift 185 pounds easily. It would take some serious brute force.
yeah, like shit your pants force.
Yes.
Now we're going to experiment. Next podcast will reinform everyone and be like, okay,
Shit,
I
we
could push
do it.
this.
I could push 185 pounds.
Did I shit my pants? Yes.
Okay, so back to this. It would be like a crap ton of people needed to attempt to move just one of these blocks. If one block is 14,000 pounds and I can only push 185 pounds, you know how many people we would need?
You would need a lot of people.
And mind you, I didn't really get into like, obviously rope was a thing, so they might have had people pulling and pushing at the same time. So you could probably get a lot of people on this brick.
I'd want the push job. I don't want to fucking pull that.
My arms would be dead after one. I'd be like, you know what? Let's call it quits. We
Yeah.
ain't building we can build a baby pyramid with pebble-sized rocks.
Did they have any animals that assisted in work?
Nothing that I saw, just people.
So like they didn't like hook up a camel to and like tie a rope
What's
to the
a camel
hump?
gonna do? A camel is not strong at all.
Well,
It
I
could just
mean-
go months without water.
I mean, you hear about like old America. Like,
Did you know
when-
that the humps of a camel don't actually hold water?
I guess I never thought that they held
my
water.
God, my whole childhood, I thought the humps of camels was where they stored all their water because they could go months without water. So they stored it in the humps, and then as they depleted it, the hump would get shorter. It was a rough point in my life, and honestly, I would say until like 5 years ago, I still thought that was true.
Okay, the people that listen to this podcast are gonna think we're dumb. Now I forgot what I was gonna ask.
I'm sorry, animals.
Like in old America, if that's what we want to call it, or when like the pioneers were making themselves west, they used like oxen to, like plow fields and stuff. So like you think about animals that can assist. I'm assuming they didn't have
I think
that.
this was still early.
Okay.
Because like oxen in our area,
I mean,
that
obviously
wasn't until way later.
that, but like probably not a common animal over in.
I mean, they're struggling.
deserts.
They're struggling to feed themselves, let alone another animal.
fair, very fair.
I mean, there might have been like stuff over there just not being utilized.
I still feel like if you just like made a lasso and put it on the camel hump, they could have assisted.
Maybe. Not only was the weight going to be an issue, but so was the size. So each block was about 1 meter by 2.5 meters at the base.
Holy shit, that's huge.
Yeah, so it's about 1 yard by 2.5 yards.
This is not a place that I've physically seen in person. I want to, but I haven't. But in pictures, they look like a foot by foot square.
I know.
Like a little cube, and they just
And then
had
you
a
get up to him and
mouthful.
you're like, oh my God, it's like as tall as me.
Yeah, yeah.
So then the height would range between 1 and 1.5 meters. So like it's a pretty
like taller than me.
large brick.
Yeah, because a meter's
'cause it's-
like a yardstick almost, a
It's
little bit
1
bigger.
by 2.5 by 1.5.
That is huge.
It's really, really big.
oh my god.
like
I
I
didn't
said,
realize it was that big.
I always thought they were smaller, and then I started doing research, and I'm like, oh my God, no way in hell
so
would I
like
be able to
they're
move
not they're not like stairs that I can climb
that.
up.
No, they have like stair sections
Well,
that they
yeah.
have created so you can get to the top now.
I thought the whole thing was stairs.
I thought it was stairs too that were like actually doable, but these are like meter high steps.
so I'm gonna have to yeet you up.
You're gonna need a ladder for
'Kay.
each step.
Oh my
All right.
God.
The bricks were solid limestone.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that made up the majority of the outside. So the most of the outside was all limestone bricks.
Okay.
There were ways for them to cut the blocks into these large pieces and then transport them to where the pyramids would be finally built.
What did they cut this with?
I mean, they had like axes, so they used a stronger stone. Like if you use something like granite, it's going to be able to cut limestone because that's a
Okay.
stronger stone than that.
Okay.
So like they could do that, and then they could like I mean, you've seen the TikTok videos where they like tap a line and then all of a sudden you just use one
Yeah.
strong force and then it can split it the whole way.
Okay.
It's kind of the same.
concept.
Yes.
'Kay.
What researchers have found is that the workers back then used the sand to their advantage.
Okay.
So looking at the physics of friction,
Mm-hmm.
friction can be decreased on sand when water is added. First off, do we know what friction is?
Yes, it's like when you rub your hands and they get hot.
Okay,
Friction.
so like
I'm
when
not
we're
that dumb.
pushing a rock, it's going to be hard to push because the ground is pushing back against us.
Yep.
So when we add water to the surface of the sand,
Okay.
they say that pushing this ginormous ass rock across it will become easier because we're decreasing the amount of friction. So in a way, the ginormous brick is kind of like floating on top of that thin layer of water
Okay.
to make it easier for them to push it.
Okay. I got you. I'm following.
So determining the amount of water and all of that was kind of a science they had to figure out of what was the water to sand ratio.
Okay.
However, when pushing these blocks across the desert, it was quite hard to control the direction of the block.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not like I put a path of water this way, so it's necessarily going to go that way. It's kind of I'm trying to figure out what I can compare it to.
I just feel like it would
Okay,
be-
did you ever take a physics class, or have you ever seen where people like sit on top of like a little hovercraft where they're sitting on a chair and then they use like a puff of air to make themselves float on the chair?
I've seen it on TikTok.
Okay, and then you see them push the person and then they kind of don't just go in a straight line, they kind of veer off
Yeah.
to sides. That's kind of what they're dealing with.
I just feel like if the block weighs that much, that you're like moving it maybe an inch every time you push it, that you'd have more control.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of thought that, but then there was this guy that actually he was kind of researching this a similar thing as what we are,
Okay.
and he's going, okay, if they really did this, so he cut a rock that size,
Oh my
and
God.
him and his buddies put the sand with water. Mind you, it probably wasn't as big of a rock, but
But
it was
still.
similar.
The dedication.
And they pushed it and pulled it with ropes, and where they wanted it to end up and where it actually ended up was like 5 meters off.
oh my, that's like a huge amount to be off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Oh,
mind you, they were
wow.
pushing them a pretty great distance. It was
Yeah.
like miles.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That I would. Okay. Did they want to build them there, or did they were like, we got the stones here, just leave it?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Moving the large limestone blocks was actually the easier part of this process because those large blocks were relatively close in a quarry.
Okay.
So the quarry that they got them out of was like a mile away.
only a mile.
You'll
Oh my
just wait.
God.
They were about a mile away. Now,
Okay.
as you move deeper into the pyramid, the types of stone get more and more rare. Because
Okay,
when
like-
you're inside a tomb, you're going to have more rare stuff because they're
Yeah.
trying to bury him with his possessions or her
Belongings.
possessions. Granite was going to be the popular type of stone that was found within the tomb. Mind you, granite's heavy as fuck.
It's very heavy.
Yet the problem I have is that these large bricks,
Mhm.
about the same size as the outside of the pyramids, like the big ass bricks,
Yeah.
these bricks were not close by at all.
All right.
Instead, they were from a quarry in Aswan, which is more than 497 miles away from the pyramids.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
497 miles to get a brick. And
That-
mind you, they can kind of see, like, they can see in the quarry that was a mile away where they took out the pieces of stone for the pyramid with the limestone blocks.
Mhm.
They can see in Aswan where they took out the stones of granite. So, like, there's kind of a, archaeological evidence there
Mhm.
showing that these large bricks were taken from 497 miles away.
That just doesn't even make logical sense to me. That they would go that far away, and the sheer manpower.
That was where the granite was. Now, they used the Nile River to help them. So instead of
Okay.
pushing them the entire way, they would push them onto a ship and then use the Nile River to transport them a good chunk of the way. But
Okay.
still, to travel that far
Mhm.
and then to get them on a boat and off a boat and to where the pyramid is a huge
That's unreal.
accomplishment. That was the thing that I was like, oh my God, that's really far away.
That just doesn't seem smart. Like, I'd just be like, we're gonna build the whole pyramid of the same material. We
No.
don't need granite. He doesn't need anything special.
He's getting the limestone that's a mile.
Oh my
That
gosh.
we can push.
That's insane.
And mind you, granite's a whole heck of a lot heavier than
Yeah.
the limestone is.
And I feel like putting it on the boat that they might have had back then, you're putting one, maybe two, just from the sheer weight.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're sailing away with 50 and going, yay!
Especially because
halfway!"
they didn't have the ships that we have nowadays
Yeah.
that like can carry tons and tons of weight.
I'm just picturing like a crappy little rowboat from like the Notebook.
like made out of wood that would just
and they're
sink.
just like, put it on. Like, yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Something else about this that's still very much a mystery is how once the blocks were there, how did they go about stacking them up into the well-known pyramid shape?
Okay, I'm starting to think that alien conspiracy is
I know.
true because one, the whole getting it from 400 some miles
using
away.
the sand to like pull them and push them.
This just
now
doesn't
you have
seem
to
real.
lift that block without a crane up a level, and then when you get up higher,
Is
and
there
mind you, there's not like supporting structures inside. Yes, there is the interior part of
Yeah.
the tomb, but like, what is supporting it while you're building it so it doesn't just collapse in?
Oh, this is trippy to think about.
I know.
I would definitely. Is there like a hieroglyph somewhere that tells us the death count? Because I guarantee many men were squished in the making of this.
I did not find that. Now, there were several sources that talk about many different ramp stair systems that could have been used. One of them being a large ramp that traveled around the entire outside of the pyramid that the blocks were pushed up until they were at the approximate location and then placed into place.
Oh, good God.
Okay. Another version of the ramp system was that it was inside the pyramid and it was like a spiral staircase that you would push the block up and then put it into its final location at the correct height.
Okay, now my one thing with the inside ramp system, because you can like travel there and go inside
Yes.
some of these pyramids.
Mind you, they probably would have had to build this ramp system and then deconstruct it and then get it out.
I didn't know if this was the ramp system that you as a tourist can go on.
The thing that was not discussed that really, I don't want to say bothered me because it didn't necessarily bother me. It just made me kind of question my existence. What were these ramps made out of? Because
That would support that
a
weight.
2x4 is not going to hold that thing up there.
Yeah.
Like, you'd need a rock that is slanted in order to get this thing up.
Okay, listen, I got an idea. Have you seen those Indian guys on?
Yes. That build the little huts that are literally like verified on YouTube because they have so many people watching their videos.
They make those things out of bamboo. They had no issue traveling great distances to get granite. Maybe they traveled to China, chopped down a shit ton of bamboo, brought it back, and built the ramps out of bamboo.
I don't know if bamboo's that strong.
Have you
I mean,
seen
maybe-
the people build
Maybe
these
if you,
things?
if you weave it together, but I don't think it could lift a 2.5 ton brick.
So is there no evidence of these ramps left around?
There's nothing that I could find. It was super scarce to find how were these bricks placed into
So
the pyramid shape.
are the ramps just like an idea? They don't know it for sure.
Correct. That's what they assume because there's nothing else that we could think of. Yes, they have levers, but levers would only work for the first couple layers until you're too high.
I think the lever would work for the first layer. Like that's it.
Yeah.
This is trippy because like I can't think of a material other than a crane that would be able to support that sheer amount of weight for extended periods of time, because it's not like these men are pushing it up at 20 miles an hour. This is taking hours upon hours upon hours.
Well, and then let's say you get it up on the ramp
okay.
and you're pushing it. You got to finish that brick before you leave for the day because isn't it just going to slide back down? I feel like eventually it's
Oh
going
my
to
God.
slowly slide.
I didn't think about that.
It might not slide down like you're going down a slide at a park, but
But
it's
it
going to
was-
slowly
yeah.
shift down.
And then okay, my next
And then
question.
if it falls off, what if it crunches another part of the pyramid?
Okay, how did they did they make like a circular ramp? Because what do you do when you get to a corner? Like
Pivot, turn, I don't pivot.
okay, there are so many issues with this
Yeah.
that we don't.
That was the
this
thing.
bothers me.
That was especially the thing that as I was going through this, I was like, something is wrong here. I just don't get it.
yeah, that doesn't line up.
And then not only is the pyramid's size going to be impressive, but then there's so much science behind them.
Yeah,
Did you know that the pyramids are actually aligned with the stars?
I
mean,
feel like
you
I
did
have
research
heard-
in
yeah.
middle elementary school, so I feel like you probably heard a little bit about it.
I think something with like the tips of each pyramid point to certain things. I don't remember it, but I do remember knowing that there was a correlation somehow.
Okay, we're going to focus on the big pyramid of Giza.
Okay.
So the biggest one.
Mhm.
There are multiple star shafts where you can look out and it will show you a specific point in the sky.
Okay.
So-
Wait, there's physical openings in the top of this that you can
In
look
like
out
the
of.
sides.
Okay.
One shaft is going to point in the general direction of the North Star. Obviously,
Yeah.
with like continental movement, it's going to be a little off.
Yeah.
But what we assume it once pointed at, and like you can still kind of see it, was the North Star.
Okay.
The other one points towards Orion's belt.
All right. Which was a popular star formation during that time.
Yeah. Now, these portions of the sky were considered some of the most important in that ancient Egyptian mythology.
Mm-hmm.
There was some debate as to whether these shafts were meant to be like star shafts
Okay.
or if they were really just openings for oxygen to get in.
oh, maybe.
But my thing is, if everyone residing in the pyramid was deceased, what was the point of needing air to get into the tomb?
Okay, but when you think about it as well, on the flip side of it, what is the point of being able to see the stars if everyone's side is dead? They can't see them.
Yeah.
So,
But-
like, both.
But in their afterlife, it was probably very considered like sacral?
Sacred.
Sacred, thank you. It was considered sacred to be able to see these portions of the sky because they were so important to them in their living life.
I mean,
I mean,
fair
if
point.
they don't believe in an afterlife where like you're gonna physically go to heaven,
Yeah.
then they're going to live out the rest of their life in that tomb. That's why they want all of their things with them. So
Possessions.
then they would be able to see these super important portions of the sky through these star shafts.
My other thing, and I'm not a builder, if that's what you want to call it.
Okay.
Does oxygen need to be able to get in? Because, like, when you have, like, a really bad thunderstorm or even, like, a tornado, especially here in the Midwest, people always say if there's a tornado, you're supposed to, like, crack your window just a little bit to get some air movement. So that
Otherwise,
way
your house will lift off the ground super easy.
it's your house lifts easier. So was there maybe, like, some science behind it of we need some oxygen movement, so if we get a big storm, like, it's not going to crumble and collapse?
I mean, maybe.
Is
I
there
didn't
any-
see anything of that when I was looking through stuff,
Well, I mean,
but it's a possibility.
The star thing is totally legitimate too. Like,
yeah.
it's just there's lots of questions about both theories. Like,
Mhm.
is it oxygen or is it so they can view the stars?
Yeah. Plus, if this was just a fluke and let's say they were air shaft, what's the probability that they would perfectly align with those important star regions?
That's the weird thing to
So,
me.
like, let's say, oh, they need air in the
Mhm.
afterlife. What is the chances of them actually aligning with the North Star and Orion's belt?
Yeah, that's the one thing that's a little weird to me. Are those the only two air
Those
shafts
are the
or
only.
star
Those
shafts?
are the only two.
Okay. Yeah, a bit weird.
Yeah.
Little.
That's where I was like, okay, like I'm really doubting that it was an air shaft. Plus, because everyone's dead and like
It's
it was
just
important
weird.
in their life.
And like I get like the afterlife is a completely different thought for every culture and religion or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I mean, maybe it is like, did they, because I don't remember when I did my research, did they think that like when they died, they went in there and they were going to wake up and like live in that pyramid the rest of their life? Or
That's what I don't necessarily know. But
I don't
my thing is,
remember.
I don't think they believed in like a you go to heaven. I think it was like not
There-
that they would like get up and move around inside their tomb, but like
Mhm.
they were buried so that way when they went to their afterlife, whatever it was, they had
Mhm.
all of their stuff there with them. So it was like they were right there in real world.
Okay. And like I said, I don't remember. I was obsessed with it at one point, but I don't remember the little fine details of like how their afterlife works.
Yeah. The other thing is the set of the three big pyramids
Mm-hmm.
is also perfectly aligned with Orion's belt. So like when you look at them from the sky,
Mm-hmm.
they align perfectly with how the Orion's belt arcs.
Okay.
So that's another thing that was
kinda
kind of
think.
like, okay, kind of weird
Yeah.
to have all of these things with people that didn't even have a wheel be able to do.
Yeah. Like you had said, like they didn't necessarily even know where these were going to end up because driving them essentially was too hard. So for them to like perfectly align with a star formation is a little weird to me.
Oh, and there's so much more.
Oh God.
So
This is making my head hurt.
we've got like another paragraph's worth of just background information, then we'll get into theories.
Okay.
Another seemingly impossible thing about the pyramids is that the sunset on winter solstice
Mm-hmm.
falls directly above the Pyramid of Menkaure as seen from the Great Sphinx of Egypt, which is like that giant face statue that's nearby.
Yes.
So when you have this winter solstice, it is literally like, here's the pyramid, and the sun is directly above, like it's sitting on the tip of that pyramid.
I have seen pictures of that. It's really cool.
I mean, the probability of this being a fluke is not likely at all because it would be extremely a calculated process of it's this day, it's this time, this is what it looks like. We need to make sure that that pyramid aligns right there when we're standing right here.
Can you imagine though the science behind that? Like the fact that these people are sitting here and if this was planned and they meant for that to happen, which right now all signs kind of point to yes, they wanted this to
Yeah.
happen. But like the amount of effort and work and like keeping track on a calendar.
Yeah.
Like this is where it is on this day every single year. Can you imagine like
I mean, they had 30 years to check, so.
but like oh my god that it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
And then the last little bit of science behind the pyramids that really astounds me is that looking at the Great Pyramid of Giza, so we're still with the big one,
Mhm.
it is aligned to the cardinal directions. So like north, south, east, west,
Mhm.
each thing, each corner
No.
points to a direction.
What?
Yeah.
Do you know how hard that is?
I mean, mind you, the directions don't change like the stars necessarily
Well,
do.
yeah.
But still, to
But
know
then
your
it's like-
cardinal directions and say, okay, this brick needs to be here. And then we also need a star shaft to be right here with this direction still over here. It's
Yeah.
just insane.
Especially because I'm doubting there was a compass back then. So like, what?
I know.
Okay, I'm buying into aliens. Is that a theory? Because I'm saying aliens. This just doesn't line
We're
up for
almost
me.
getting there.
Oh,
So, I mean, tell me how a species with such little technology could coordinate such a monument with all of these special features that coincide with the stars. And yes, studying stars is one of the things that was super important to them.
mhm.
For them to create multiple pyramids, all with their own special features that perfectly correlate to the stars, seems impossible for such a simple time in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, with the lack of technology to assist them in planning, construction, architecture, all of that, I mean, I just don't get it.
Yeah, something doesn't line up there for me.
So now knowing all the intricacies about the pyramids, we need to start getting into the theories of who really built these things.
Oh, not humans.
All right, the first theory is ancient Egyptians.
Okay, of course. We can't rule them out, apparently.
So first, it is clear to state that, I mean, it could have been possible, just extremely difficult for the ancient Egyptians to have built the pyramids.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about looking at what I stated earlier. There were techniques for them to move the blocks and then seal them into place with the use of levers and human strength and ramps and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they did value the knowledge of the sky and the stars a lot in their culture, so they could have kept that information in mind during the building process. However, my big thing is without the use of pulleys, wheels, all of
Yeah.
that technology, and like a compass and all of that,
Just basic things.
it's just extremely unlikely for them to have built them all by themselves. Not saying that
Yeah.
they didn't, but I'm thinking they had to have at least gotten the help from something else or someone else.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the little will to live nowadays, but I just feel like as a human race nowadays, this would not be done with the little or few tools that they had.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have 20 people that want to work at Chick-fil-A, let alone work on a friggin' pyramid.
We're gonna build a
They're
pyramid.
working 18 hours a day.
Yeah, and then to be like, okay, you can't use a crane. Hammers? What's a hammer? You don't get a hammer. Like,
You get a rock that you chiseled into an axe.
and now you have to find a team of 50 men to push this boulder.
No,
like,
thank you.
it seems a bit far-fetched, but I could be wrong.
So that's the first theory, is
Yep.
that ancient Egyptians did.
Okay.
What do you think the second is?
I'm hoping aliens.
So, who would be able to construct such a massive monument all by themselves? Aliens.
My only thing with the whole aliens thing is like, yes, the government confirmed, and
I know.
I get that, but like, I also sit there, and when I did all my crazy research as the third grader I was, like, their hieroglyphics never showed like things other than like humans. They showed like cats and dogs because they really valued animals, but they never in their hieroglyphics showed like a different life form. Like, they made it look very mundane.
I don't know. I think I've seen hieroglyphics where they talk about.
I don't remember those.
I'll have to look because
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive I've seen some where there are like saucers in them.
Really?
Yes.
I don't remember
Not
that.
where they've like drawn an alien with like a
Well,
ginormous head.
Yeah.
But
Just because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel like if aliens did partake in this, there would definitely be hieroglyphics somewhere
saying,
going,
oh, these are the people that helped us build
yes,
these. Yeah.
they documented everything back then. I just
Mhm.
feel like it would be somewhere.
Whoever did this would have had to have extensive knowledge of the stars and space, as well as directionality.
Well, who knows more about space than aliens?
I know, that's where they live, baby. So this is where only one possibility in my eyes is going to be aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this tends to be one of my go-to explanations when it comes to a lot of my conspiracy theories, yet how else would we explain all of the topics we've discussed?
Yeah.
Aliens would be able to move and piece together a pyramid rather quickly due to their advances in technology.
They wouldn't even need a river. They would just zap the.
I know, I
the
feel like they would
granite.
just like levitate that baby all the way to the final resting place.
And the one thing, like, when you look at the pyramids, those bricks are like fairly symmetrical. Like, they're cut
Perfectly.
damn near perfect, every single one.
And I feel like there would be like some janky cut rocks if it was a human doing it.
You're just not sitting there with an axe and cutting a straight line every time.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Especially an edge that's that large.
yes.
I mean, it's meters big.
there's a lot of room for air.
Mm-hmm. What most of my research suggested was not that aliens built the pyramids alone, but instead they helped aid the Egyptians craft the pyramids.
Okay.
If these ancient people had extraterrestrial help, then it could have been possible to move such massive blocks and then place them perfectly into the pyramid 6 times over because there were 6 of them.
Maybe they brought a crane in.
Maybe they had technology that we probably have today.
Like, hey guys, listen, we have this thing. We'll teach you how to man it. You're just gonna lift the bricks. No need for those ramps anymore.
Yeah, we
Lot of
got
lives were
diggers.
lost.
We have everything. I mean, plus the pyramids, they're just too perfect for the time period that they were built in. I mean,
Yeah.
mind you, the sides aren't smooth, but they have like a stepped
Yeah.
section. But still, it is like perfect.
That's the thing that's weird to me is like,
how were they laid down that perfect if they were using a ramp system?
we still have huge human error in 2023 in
mind
things
you,
that we do.
I guess they had 30 years to fix it, but I mean, if
30
you
years.
made a mistake on like level 40,
They threw you in the pyramid and said you're done.
I would think like
I-
if that boulder fell into the pyramid, I'd be like, you know what? That's its final resting place.
Yeah.
It can be in there with King Tut.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're done.
Is King Tut in the pyramid?
He's
Who's in the pyramid?
King Tut's one of them.
Isn't a chick one of them?
I think Cleopatra's in one.
That's the other one.
I'm gonna Google because now I'm curious. The 3 large
Wow.
pyramids of Giza were built for the 3 generations of the Egyptian king Khufu, his son Khafari, maybe.
Oh my god, maybe that's the names of them. That's the names of the pyramid. Where's King Tut?
Now I'm gonna have to Google where King Tut is. How Manicure?
Menkuri?
Manicure? Yeah, they're literally named after the people.
Oh
in the-
my god, where the hell is King Tut? I thought King Tut was like the biggest guy ever.
Where's King Tut's tomb?
It's probably like
Let's look at images.
offside of a highway.
He's like, we just threw him in the freaking water. He floated down the Nile. Tomb of Human. I totally said that wrong.
Wow.
King Tut, we're just gonna call him that. Okay. He's also known for the tomb number KV62 burial place.
So he's not in a pyramid.
What years were yours?
Years?
Yeah, like what BC?
Hold up. In general, 2490.
Okay, so King Tut was in 1334
BC?
BC. So like way before
Do you
yours.
count down or do you count up with BC?
I believe you count up.
Okay, so he was 1,000 or so years later.
He was, what was yours?
2490 BC.
Yours is after mine.
You just said they count down.
No, I think they like count up to like.
So like 5,000. When do they stop?
Oh, fair point.
Because I thought they counted down to like 100 BC.
How do BC?
We're gonna have to edit all this out.
How do BC years work? Okay, it does count down
Okay, that's what I thought.
because it has like birth of the Renaissance is 1302.
So King Tut's about 1,000 years later than the pyramids.
My
oh my
thing is,
gosh.
King Tut was in ancient Egypt. My thing is, okay, we're picking back up here with the podcast part. I'm not editing this out because it's a question I have. King Tut comes 1,000 years after however you pronounce the three men you're talking about.
Yeah.
If I was King Tut, I'd be looking at those pyramids going, get to fucking work. I want a pyramid.
I want something cooler, man.
Okay.
Make me a statue of myself.
How do you even find something cooler than a pyramid?
That's 90 size my size.
Like, what? No, my thing is, okay, the Tomb of King Tut, like, I'm
And I
looking
would
at
want
a
it to
map.
levitate. If aliens built it, they can make it constant
I'm
levitation.
gonna go King Tut's tomb.
Yeah, what's it look like? Look at a picture. Is it a pyramid? Or is it some measly little, they just throw them in the ground?
Images. Because it shows a lot of, like, inside. Because he had, like, a really cool sarcophagus. Like,
I know. It's very cool.
His was one of the prettiest ones I've seen.
Yeah, these other people were probably just like mummies.
They
Wonder if their bodies were even left.
They were just like, yeet, and threw the body in the thing. They're like, hopefully you wake up.
Have fun in the afterlife.
Okay, outside of tomb, maybe? Outside.
Exterior. Did you find it?
Literally, it looks like he was buried in a sand pit.
Sad face.
It looks like maybe it was the development of a pyramid. Because it almost looks... Here, I'll just show you the picture. It almost looks like they found sand and they're like, just start building. And they started digging to build one. Do you see that?
God, my eye all of a sudden just decided not to glitch.
Like, he's just buried in the sand.
He looks like he's buried in the side of, like, a cliff.
But, like, when you go inside, it's gorgeous. It has, like, gold walls. So, like, it's fancy.
Oh, yeah.
But, like,
there's a lot happening there.
the outside of it, like, I feel like you could walk past this and miss it.
Do you see a UFO in one of the hieroglyphics?
I don't. There's a lot of,
Damn.
like, it looks like cats.
Cats were big in there.
Cats. There's,
Siamese.
like, walking humans. It looks like some people in, like, a canoe.
Anybody with big heads? Like alien figures?
No. But there's,
Okay.
like,
All
human,
right, we can rule out aliens then.
like, human bodies with dog heads.
Oh, that's creepy.
Maybe the aliens. They have dog heads.
They shapeshifted like that. And they were like, you know what? This is what we're going to make them see.
But it sounds like this tomb, like when you just go on basic Google, it sounds like King Tut's tomb was really hard to discover. Like
Okay.
it took him a while to find it, but rightfully so. When you Google the photo, the entrance is like you just walk into a sand dune.
Oh, wow.
So like, I think it would take a while to find it. Okay, now that we've gotten so far off track,
We'll
so
start steering back onto the course.
we know the names of the three main pyramids are after the men.
people. I would have never known. I did research on it.
Now the three smaller pyramids, are those named?
They aren't named. I hunted high and low
Okay.
to find a name for them. They're just associated with the Menkuri pyramid.
Okay, so
the
it's like
smallest
they
of the
each
three.
got like a baby pyramid.
Yeah,
too.
maybe. I don't know. But I feel like they would have put it in front of their own tombs. They're just like little,
Yeah.
like, you know what? We'll add an accent wall. They added accent pyramids.
I'm curious about Cleopatra's tomb now.
She's
Will
probably-
we ever find Cleopatra's tomb? It's not even found. That came out June 7th of 2023, the article.
So would they find her? Where'd they find her?
Have they ever even found her?
Well, how do we know she existed?
Archaeologists seeking Cleopatra's tomb.
Tomb.
They haven't even found her tomb, so how do we even know if she's a real person? Why do we know that she's existed?
I have no clue.
Tomb of...
We're getting into stuff we got to research
Oh
outside
my god,
of this. Yeah,
this
I
is
know.
insane.
So
Okay.
we know what you'll be doing the rest of the night.
I'm going to be just ancient Egypt all the way. Okay.
All right. Another reason many people believe that aliens may have assisted in the building of the pyramids is their location. It's not like these things were just thrown in a random part of the desert. The coordinates of the 3 pyramids align perfectly with the stars in the Orion's belt, which is we already talked about. And the Great Pyramid, so the biggest one, the coordinates are 29.9792458 degrees north. Now there's meaning to that.
Okay.
The speed of light is exactly 299,792,458 meters per second.
No.
So they're exactly the same.
What? Okay,
The reason many people think this is such a telling clue is because that's the speed of light, and it's central to time travel, which is what aliens would have had to do to get here.
That really bothers me.
I know.
That really bothers me.
That was like the biggest telling clue where I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. It just bothers me. It bothers me that it's like exact. Like how
I mean, to like 6, 7 decimal places.
that just doesn't
No,
seem
9
right.
decimal places.
You just don't randomly get that dead on. That's not something that like, oh, we got lucky.
I know.
It just doesn't work that way.
Well, and then each part of the corners aligning to the directions and the star shafts and then being at this degree north and all of these different things aligning all in one pyramid, it just is very, very hard to believe.
It definitely kind of points in the direction of they had help from outer space.
Yeah.
I just feel for the time period and the scarce tools that this is not something they did alone. Like you said, I think that they definitely partook in making it, but I don't think they did it by
Alone.
themselves.
Yeah. Another thing that I didn't really see with any other theory, but was where did all the debris go after the demolition of the pyramids?
Demolition, they're still there.
Okay, but like cracking of the stones and carrying the stones and the track marks of where they slid the stones through the sand and all of that. Where did all that go?
Well, sand is like, okay, when you walk on a beach, like your footprint doesn't stay there forever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. That was one thing where there was quite a bit of talk of, okay, if we built these pyramids, where's all the evidence of all the construction that had to have taken place?
Because didn't you say that you can go to these quarries and see where these things were cut out?
Yeah.
So, like, there's that evidence, but I feel like even...
I guess knowing that it's sand, like the blowing and all of that kind of stuff, it would have, over time, especially by like today's standards, have been dissipated.
Like,
So,
that would be gone, but, like, I don't know, do deserts experience... I mean, yes, deserts experience rain, but, like...
very scarce. They maybe get a couple inches a year.
I feel like with any amount of rain or wind, like, eventually the
erosion,
movement,
it's gonna...
the movement of it, that part would be gone or explainable.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So that part I can see. It's just the whole construction of it seems a little odd to me.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
All right, that brings us to our last theory then.
Sad face.
I know. This one, I have some information on, but honestly, this one was the one I believed in most.
Really?
Yes.
More than aliens?
Yes.
Because I feel like every time we do a conspiracy theory, you're like,
It's
aliens.
It's aliens.
It's aliens
I
every
always
time.
think it. I mean, there's always a compelling amount of evidence to stir me towards aliens.
I get it.
All right, so the last theory we're going to look at is that the people of Atlantis are the ones responsible for constructing the pyramids.
Okay, I feel like my next podcast should be the city of Atlantis, because that one really does enthrall me and, like, the people of it, but, like, what?
Yep, so this is the one that I currently believe the most.
Really?
Yes, I know, and I almost, like, because there was a few others that were listed, but I was like, I'm going to pick some and go into those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And as I did more research and, like, read what people had to say about this theory,
Yeah.
it by far seemed the most believable.
What? I just...
All
Okay.
right. So,
Convince me.
it is always known that the people of Atlantis were really talented in constructing pyramids. Most of the things that you see about Atlantis are usually like that they built a pyramid or that's what they were living in.
Really? I don't know a whole lot on
really?
Atlantis.
Okay, so like Atlantis people,
Because
most of the structures they build are pyramid shaped. I mean, sometimes they have like the columns to help support like a larger building, but like most of it is pyramids.
This is going to sound stupid because I truly don't know a lot about Atlantis outside the Disney movie.
Okay.
Atlantis is underwater right now.
Yes.
Has it always been underwater?
That's where we'll get into it.
Oh, okay. Like, because I don't know, because there were...
But like the city of Atlantis is said to have been underwater and I currently don't believe that they're still down. I believe like at one point in time it was a place and it was a thing. I don't
Okay.
believe that it's still a place and still a
So
thing.
you think at one point it was on dry land and not underwater? Or are we talking like mer people?
I'm talking like mer people.
Oh, so you...
I'm not talking like these are people and they're living on land and they can like go in water and they can build a pyramid underwater. No, I'm talking like it was underwater. They lived underwater. They were mer people. They did all this stuff. They built these pyramids. They had civilized life underwater.
Okay. Wow. We're taking it this direction. Okay. I always assumed Atlantis. I thought it was above land at some point and now it's underwater now.
Oh no, I consider they were always living underwater.
Oh my god. And you believe this over aliens?
Yes.
Okay. Convince me. Okay.
So it's always known that they were good at constructing pyramids.
Mhm.
Most of their builds are pyramid shaped.
Well, of course, they're underwater. Do you know how easy it is to float things?
In terms of construction, Atlantis would not have needed to worry about like the similar things that aliens or ancient Egyptians would have had to deal with in terms of like brute manpower they would have
Yeah.
needed because you have buoyancy to help you.
Yeah, water is a lot easier to move
So the large bricks that they would have cut would have been so much easier to move. Instead of needing 1,000 men, you'd need 200.
Okay, just an Atlantis question here. Is there an underground quarry they're cutting these
It's
from?
similar to like above ground, how there are quarries. There are underground quarries as well.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's like you have sand underground.
Yeah.
You can go to parts of the ocean that are more rocky and you can deal from there. Obviously,
Okay.
you'd probably need to like chisel it so it's more flat. You aren't going to get like a perfect quarry like you have out in
Yeah.
the natural air, but yes.
Your next podcast is Atlantis because I'm now enthralled. this is wow. Okay.
Yet the big question is these pyramids would have been underwater, so what happened to make them in the middle of the desert?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, how did Egyptians meet the water people, and how did the water people be like, build the like what?
It might not be
What?
related at all.
Okay.
Okay. In the Bible, they talk about the catastrophic event that caused the end of the Atlantis people, which was the Great Flood.
Mm-hmm.
That would have depleted the water that was once residing in the deserts where the pyramids are.
Mm-hmm.
So the people of Atlantis would have built these pyramids for themselves, used them while they were underwater. Then the Great Flood happens, everything depletes out of the desert, and they're left there. The Egyptian people, how many years later, roll up and go, oh my God, pyramids! Let's make a tomb. They put their people in it. That's where they reside. They make it this ginormous temple. They add their extra information inside there, and it becomes these Great Pyramids of Giza, and they name them after their leaders, and they put their leaders' stuff in there, and they go through all that. There were some hieroglyphics found in the pyramids that are extremely similar to those stemming from the Atlantean alphabet.
Holy fuck.
I know. Don't you believe it?
I buy that 110%.
I buy that more than I buy the
Aliens don't fucking exist. It's the Atlantis people.
I know.
Oh my god. I did, and then the whole relation to like the Bible part of it, of like the Great Flood, that lines up.
Yeah.
It correlates. Oh my god.
And mind you, this goes not only to the Great Pyramids of Giza. This now, not only are the people of Atlantis thought to have created the pyramids of Egypt, but many of the pyramids around the world, think of
Mhm.
all the ancient ruins in the world,
Yeah.
Mayans, Aztecs, all of those could have been built underwater. Then we had this Great Flood. All of these are just ruins of the Atlantis people that are now colonized by the people that were living there after the Great Flood.
Holy shit.
And they've made it their own.
I think that's the only realistic way to do it.
The buoyancy, they would need it. Without a wheel,
Without a crane. I don't, the ramps just don't seem realistic to me.
I know.
That, I think we have our answer. Put it in the textbooks, the city, the people of Atlanta. Wow.
I know. That was my thing. When I did this research, I was like, that's the last thing I would think. And then the more I read and the more I researched, the more I was like, I don't see any other way.
I guess I found out tonight 2 things. How these were built and that I believe in mermaids. Because this just...
But mind you,
Wow.
then the Great Flood would have come and it would have killed all the people of Atlantis. And
Yeah.
that's when everybody else, the new colonies of people, started taking over. And then
Yeah. Years and years
it's
later.
kind of like if we have an abandoned house somewhere, eventually someone's going to kind of live in it.
Yeah, take it over or destroy it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's realistic from the standpoint of the Egyptians would have moved in and been like, holy shit, do you see this?
Dope. This is my
Like-
new hizzle.
And it just worked out that the 3 generations fit in those pyramids. And then
And who knows? Maybe the Egyptians actually built like the little baby ones in front of Menkaure, and they were like, you know what? Let's try doing it. And they
Yeah.
were able to build smaller ones. So maybe not
Yeah.
all of them were built by the city of Atlantis, but
Okay, but even then, let's say all 6 of them were built by
Mhm.
City Atlantis. Fucking explains King Tut's tomb that's in the
See?
side of a sand dune.
why it's not a pyramid? Because they couldn't do it.
They physically couldn't do it because when we Googled...
They could chisel out, but they couldn't chisel a whole ass brick and then shove it into a pyramid shape.
Because King Tut, it's like they
And mind
just
you,
dug into the ground
That was 1,000 years later.
when they might have had a shovel. Oh my god, my mind is blown right now.
So it comes to, who do you really think built the pyramids?
Hold
up. Egyptian people with their limited tools and knowledge.
No.
Aliens with their extensive technology and heightened brain activity.
Pass.
Or the people of Atlantis.
The people of Atlantis, baby. Because when you started that one, I was like,
you're like,
you're batshit crazy, honey. Like, there's no way. And now I'm sitting here like, holy shit, mermaids were real at one point.
I love how you thought the people of Atlantis were like normal people.
Well, okay, whenever
So you think they were like normal people and then it got flooded?
So I always, mind you, I don't know a lot about City of Atlantis.
City of Atlantis is like Little Mermaid.
But, okay, the thing is, I've only seen it through the Disney movie. And from what I remember of the Disney movie...
And I've never seen the Disney movie.
They were, like, normal humans. But I believe... I haven't seen this movie in 20 years. God, that made me sound really old. They, like...
She's not old. She's only 27.
From what I'm 26.
26.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
I don't want to age her.
From what I remember, it was, like, an actual place. And then the, catastrophe happened, and eventually the city sank into the water. Like, it's like if California falls off the coast.
Oh.
That's how it's always been portrayed in my head.
I mean, maybe that's how it is, but when I did research, it made me feel like they lived underwater and they built it underwater.
That seems more realistic because I just don't see how someone could build this pyramid. I think even today...
And now seeing King Tut's tomb?
I know.
That's even more telling evidence.
It's like they found a sand dune and like, start digging. We'll
chisel some stuff out.
We'll
call it good.
Mix some concrete and make some walls. Like, I feel like even with today's technology, we as a human society would struggle to build these.
Yeah.
Just because, like, our cranes aren't, I mean, yes, you can get a crane to go that tall. Like, I just feel like even with technology we have today, it would be really hard to make these.
I mean, I don't think it would take us 15 to 30 years, but...
Oh, I don't think it would take that long, but I just...
It would be a lot of work.
I don't think we would ever make something like that.
It would take, about as long as it takes to repair a road in Wisconsin.
10 years.
Yeah.
Minimum. And even then, it's not done completely.
Yeah.
Not the direction I thought this episode was going tonight.
I know, it's great.
I really was thinking...
I don't usually fall on the people of Atlantis. I usually fall on aliens, but...
You always sell me on aliens.
I was changed in this episode.
One of our future podcasts has to be City of Atlantis.
Oh, I'm totally down.
Because it's not something I know. I've heard about it.
Mermaids.
But I've not heard enough about it to know what it's about.
Yeah. You're so amazed.
I am so amazed. So your question at the end is, what do you believe? I believe in the Atlantis people.
Me too.
I'm sold.
100%.
I just feel like, why is this a conspiracy theory anymore? We have our answers, people.
I feel like you think that at the end of all of my episodes.
You're so convincing.
I try.
The Diana podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hella convinced of that. You're just a very convincing person.
I try my best.
You persuade very nicely, but I'm also, I think, very easily convinced of anything. You tell me, if you just tell me it in a nice, convincing voice, I'm like, sold. Let's go. Oh my God. Okay.
All right, people, that's all we got for you. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at Conspiracy Podcast 1. And remember to tune in for next week's episode, which will be posted on Wednesday. Catch you later, people.
See ya.